Today's video is going to be really exciting. Thanks to an invite from our friends at Tank Space, we have come here to do underwater photography with one of these cameras. So today we've been given the opportunity to do some large format photography underwater. We're not actually going to put this camera underwater. We've got a large glass fronted underwater tank that we're using. So follow me. So we've got a dark room, so we've got no reflections, and then we can photograph Jamie underwater with one of these old, large format bellows cameras. It's going to be really exciting. Shooting in a glass tank makes shooting large format underwater easier by eliminating the need for an underwater housing, but shooting film in this way still throws up some challenges. Underwater, light falls away quickly. Even in our small tank, we needed more light than we could get our hands on the budget. So I had to enlist the professionals.
We're professionals.
Chris and Frank are the two brightest sparks in the business.
Rock clip Brando.
I was using Portra 160 film with a lens that could only open up as far as f5.6. So even with their help, getting the quantity of light we needed was going to be a challenge. With digital, you just up the ISO. But with film, you have what it says on the box. If you need to, you can push film 2 to 3 stops, but at a cost of grain and added contrast. The second challenge is communication. When the model is underwater, she can't see or hear you. She doesn't even know where the camera is. So direction has to be planned on the surface and then hoped for in the moment. Polaroid's gone a bit green. We can definitely see what our problems are. The problem was that I needed to find another 2 to 3 stops more light. One last challenge is particular to these large format bellows cameras, and that is when you put the film in place, you can no longer see through the camera. So you have to judge it from beside the camera and then take the picture when you think it's right, rather than being able to see it. I'm marking the edge of the frame because I can't see what's going on when I actually take the picture because the ground glass is covered by the film plate. So I'm just putting some tape on to mask in when she's in frame so we know when we've got the shot or when we haven't. Right, so we've done the Polaroids, we've got a rough idea of what they're like. And we've done the digitals, we've got a rough idea of what they're like. We can't get enough light round the front, so it's kind of very much side lit. But you know, underwater is not always the best lit place on the planet. So, I've got 4 dark slides, that's 8 shots. I'm gonna do 1 pose per dark slide, which means I've got 2 chances to get each one of these shots right. Wish me luck.
So yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting experience. I had an idea of what it would be like beforehand just from like being a kid and swimming in pools, but it's actually a little bit different from that. When you're working underwater in clothing that is cumbersome and buoyant, it's harder to hold your position. So part of the issue is that when you go under the water, you can't hear or see, like being in a swimming pool, but you don't have goggles, and when you come up, you have to wait for all the water to drain before you can hear again. But Kai and his partner had some wonderful advice, and it's a really great achievement when it works out and you get that shot. It's really fun now. And I think that if given the opportunity to do this more frequently, I would absolutely do it because I'd love to be able to stay underwater for like a minute at a time. Definitely. It's really cool.
So tank space is an idea that started off about a year and a half ago with myself and my partner, who originally owned a business called Mermaid Cove, and we used our tank that we had custom built for that company as a performance tank with mermaids in that we take to festivals and events around the UK. We used to have a sort of warehouse space the other side of Nottingham that we used for storage and rehearsals and things like that. And during one of the rehearsals, we started to take some photos and videos, and we kind of realised that the tank actually worked really nicely for underwater photography and videography. So normally things for underwater tends to be shot in a swimming pool, which has a lot of drawbacks. You need really expensive underwater lighting, underwater housing for camera gear, whereas because we're using a tank rather than a swimming pool, all of that equipment can be kept outside nice and dry, which means essentially anyone can have a go.
Okay, I'm ready. So there we go. That was large format photography underwater. That's 10 sheets of full color 5x4 shot of a model underwater. So I'm going to take this back and develop it, and I'm really looking forward to some amazing shots. In the end, I pushed my film 2.5 stops, which is a life choice, but the shots still look great. So thanks to Kai at Tank Space for lending me his wonderful studio. And we were actually thinking about doing this as a workshop. So if any of you want to come back and do this for real yourselves, let me know in the comments and we'll put something together. But otherwise, until next week, like, share, subscribe. If you want to help the channel out, send me some film. There's a wish list below. And until next week, happy shooting.